I am Prof. Ahmad. I now lecture at UCSI University. I thought I use this occasion to talk about circular economy. You know that in the world today, there are two major worries for the world. One, of course, is climate change. So climate change is one of the worry for the world, and it has got many implications for the world. It has economic implication, environmental, of course, but very important, the people, society. In Malaysia, we have been subjected to a lot of extreme weather. Floods, landslide have been very frequent in the last few years. So climate change is going to bring untold consequences for agriculture, food security, and the entire economy of the world. Next, the other big worry is we are now more than 8 billion people around the world. And 8 billion people continue to demand a lot of resources to live, for food, for travel. Now, this has taken a big toll on our natural resources. Not just water, energy, but also the metals, the minerals that we use to make products like laptop, handphone, housing. All these demand a good supply, a sustainable supply of materials and resource. So because of these two worries, the world has come to a conclusion that we have to change the way we manage our economy. We now live in an economy which is described as linear. Linear means you take the minerals, take the resources, make your products, and waste. So sometimes they call it take, make, waste. And waste has become a major burden for countries, not only to manage the waste, but the waste can also be damaging to the environment if not properly managed. So circular economy is about moving the economy in a way that resources are sustained for the long term, for sustainability, because if you look at the definition of sustainability, is to make sure future generations have the same access to resource as we have, and the same access to the environment as we have. So circular economy is a concept that has been embraced by many countries, but it's not easy to execute circular economy because the world has been used to doing the linear economy. Linear economy generates the income for business. So change from linear economy to circular is very challenging. I'm now involved in the development of a national framework on circular economy with the Engkau Aziz Center of University Malaya. We're doing it for the Ministry of Economy. And there is still things that need to be understood, not just by policymakers, by business. I give you an example. In the car industry, practices a business model that is called the theory of obsolescence, which means that the cars that you buy are not supposed to last too long. Because the more cars the car manufacturers make, the more money for them. But this has taken an impact, a negative impact on our resource. And we produce a lot of waste. In Malaysia, we see a lot of abandoned cars. We do not have yet a proper way of managing these abandoned cars. So a circular economy will be involved in the designing of the cars so that they will last as long as possible. So that is a concept of circular economy. We want products to last the longest possible so that it creates less pressure on our resource. That means we can continue to use our resource for a long time. More or less like this concept of a renewable resource. But we have to do it with a certain business model. So in the future, many people are already saying, predicting that in the car industry, the future will see less buying of cars, more leasing, more renting of cars. Because if business are not able to sell their cars and they have to resort to leasing or renting to generate income, they will make sure that the cars last as long as possible. That is the whole idea. And the other idea about the circular economy is that once eventually the car is no longer usable, then the materials in the car can be easily recycled, can be reused, can be recovered for use maybe in another industry or even in the new car itself. So in the future, in fact it's happening already now, in Europe, they have developed what they call the product digital passport, the digital passport of the product. And this passport is actually a document in digital form which tells the buyer about where this product is made, what is it made from, do they use child labor, the origin, carbon emission, everything is in the passport. And also, the passport will tell the buyer or the one who sees the passport how to recycle some of the material, how to reuse. So in a circular economy, in the case of cars, then the car manufacturers must make sure that the cars last as long as possible, which means they are easy to repair, easy to maintain, and it can be recycled. In fact, in Netherlands, it has been reported that the Philips which sell bulbs, they are no longer selling just bulbs. They are selling the lighting time. That means they will provide the bulbs and they make sure the lighting, the time that you are lighted, you pay. So in that case, they make sure that the lighting or the bulb lasts as long as possible. So central to the circular economy is the design. Design of products have to change. The design of products have to take into account not just on the carbon footprint, but also on material flow, the material use, critical material. As you know, the world is now talking about rare earth. Rare earth actually is a very critical material. And President Donald Trump, who came to Malaysia, he also asked about rare earth. And Malaysia has a good deposit of rare earth, but we have yet to really harness this treasure. So there is a move now to try and consolidate how we can best capitalize on this treasure. Now there is a concept that is being developed or is already being used by some sectors, what they call the responsibility of the producers to make sure that this product lasts as long as possible. And if there are waste, then the producer is responsible to make sure the waste is properly managed, recycled or reused. And this is what is termed the extended producer responsibility. Now in Malaysia, in many parts of the world, one of the big environmental issue is plastic. Plastic pollution. We talk about microplastic entering our food chain. So one of the early adopters of extended producer responsibility are the manufacturers of packaging or the users, companies which use a lot of plastic packaging. So the idea is the producers will be responsible. What happened to the plastic? So they have to arrange for collection, for recycling, and this is what we call, they're talking about reverse logistics nowadays. Logistic is product to the market. Reverse logistic is from the market back to the manufacturer. Of course, in some countries, in Malaysia, you see many people are collecting some of this cardboard, but they do it on their own. So when we have this extended EPR properly deployed, you must make sure that these people are also absorbed into the system. Because I've read of some failure in India where they tried to implement the EPR, they face problem because they have ignored the people already doing it. So this is a big issue. So for the circular economy, it's something that we need to think seriously, because for Malaysia, our economy is dependent on export. We are a small market. We export a lot of our products. And we also depend a lot on investment, not just local, but also foreign investment. So the world is moving towards assessing product, assessing investment through this circular economy concept, which is also related to decarbonization, climate change. So as a result of that, all countries, in Malaysia, there are benefits also to gain from a circular economy. Take the palm oil industry, for example. The palm oil industry, if you look at the palm oil industry, we only use the oil, which is 20% of the biomass. 80% are still regarded as waste. They are thrown and create a lot of environmental problem. Through circular economy, then we'll have to have a proper reuse or redeployment of this waste. I don't call it waste, I call it displaced resource. The empty bunches and the other biomass, palm kernel shell, that can be harnessed. And it's not just harnessed for new product. Now, of course, the world is also embracing the carbon economy. This is part of the whole circular economy concept. Carbon now has value. Carbon market. We talk about carbon credit. And Malaysia has taken the first step to introduce a voluntary carbon market through Bursa. Under the 13 Malaysia plan, we are moving towards having a more formalized compliance carbon market with the necessary carbon tax. So at the end of the day, for a country like Malaysia, where we export a lot of our products and we depend on investment from outside, we need to comply or we need to conform our policies to the policies of the world. And the world is moving towards circular economy. All the developed nations are already embracing. So we need to move on this if we are to experience, because I believe that only through experience we can make improvement to the circular economy. So unless we execute, when we implement the framework, then we will not actually improve. Thank you.